changing the harmonic spectrum of a sound. Everyone's used a limiter here. What happens? Anyone can tell me what a limiter does to the sound?
Changes its dynamic range.
It changes the dynamic range?
No. It's a gatekeeper, I guess. Like it stops it from getting...
That's right. But not only does it change dynamic range, it changes the fundamental timbre and frequency response of the sound. So you can see there, I've got my sine wave. If I go and... It's a very pure sine wave. This stuff up here is noise from the digital synthesis process. But the other thing that sometimes people aren't aware of, and it seems that you're all in this boat, is that when you add limiting to a sound, you're actually adding a whole lot of treble to the sound. And the minute I reduce the gain by any kind of dB, the point at which the circuit kicks in, you'll see something cool happen. So that is only the first point it clips like that. You see all of these new harmonics. So this is the original without any limiting. And we put a dB of limiting on it. We got all of this extra treble and notes above it. And as you increase it, you'll notice that these sounds actually become almost as loud as the original one. So if I turn it up, which I may or may not be able to achieve that way. It goes from being, it's going to be loud, so. So there's your pure tone. There it is with limiting. And the more you limit it, the more distorted it becomes. And the more harmonics you get. So whenever you put a limiter on anything, not only are you affecting the dynamic range, but you're also introducing octaves above in terms of harmonics and stuff like that. So if you want a bass drum to be more present in the mids and more crunchy in the treble, you can do it with either the mids or treble on a sound, but you can actually do it with limiting and compression as well.
Can you see a visual difference if you use a different kind of limiter? So
you can.
Emulation itself.
And if I use something like, and I'll show you that quickly and then we'll move on. If I use the Native Instruments guys, like their emulations of the LA2As and things like that, I'll take this limiter out of the circuit. And you'll notice actually that as soon as you turn this guy on without even any limiting, that's it without it. And as soon as I turn it on, all those extra harmonics, that's before I even limit it, that's just running it through the circuit. And then if I increase some peak reduction, those become more pronounced, and the more I reduce it, the closer the harmonics get to the fundamentals, so the more and more you're hearing these extra tones above it.
Would you mind putting the oscilloscope up?
Get it afterwards? Yep, I can do that. And I'll just change the gain as well. With the oscilloscope, I'll show you. Sometimes it's a case of getting a nice frequency that sits there without oscillating too much. There we go, there's a great one. So as we introduce this, it goes from being, I'll try and gain match as best I can. It's not the most accurate oscillator, but it becomes more square, and as I introduce more and more peak reduction, it'll eventually, you can see the tops are really getting clipped there. If I put it to limit rather than compress. But the interesting thing is not only this guy, but also down here you see the amount of harmonics above our original signal. It's crazy, and you can hear more of it. It's compressed, but there's more sound there. It's not only the original, the low pitched sound, but now we're starting to hear these octave above, and that's a fifth above here, and all of that.